It really was another week in paradise this week, with temperatures making it feel like Southern California. Just a fabulous time to be at Disney World. Let's get started on Thursday, where we had a trick or treat up sponsored by the Disney Parks blog, where they invited about 150 people plus one guest each, so 300 people, to have what amounts to a miniature Not So Scary Halloween party. And they bussed people over from the parking spot at Blizzard Beach and invited people to dress in costumes. Here was a great one with the parking lot attendant and then the old parking lot signs. I enjoyed that costume quite a bit. There they bussed people toward the back behind Splash Mountain. This is the parade float building, and you can see one of the parade floats in the back there, from which people walked on to the onstage areas and over to the Hall of Presidents, where we got a bit of a presentation by an Imagineer. First we had this little guy, which despite appearances is not inappropriate. After all, it's a turkey leg, and he's got the mouse ears on top. And this is another one of the guests dressed up as the Hatbox Ghost. There's the Imagineer, Jason Sorrell, who was very associated with the Haunted Mansion in general. He talked about the Haunted Mansions at all of the Disney parks across the globe. Then people were given trick-or-treat bags, and they had trick-or-treating throughout the land. They had the Haunted Mansion ride open for visits, and they were giving a guided tour of the new interactive queue. The place wasn't very busy, as you can see. It was lit up as though it were a Not So Scary Halloween party, and they had characters we could take pictures with. They had the free candy, they had free drinks and free chocolate desserts, as you can see here, and they even dressed up the part in the Haunted Mansion. So a little bit of face makeup here, and the kind of zombie mansion point here, the two-fingered zombie point is my favorite, from this cast member near the bottom. Carlotta and her sister, the ghosts who were out for Not So Scary Halloween party, were out for this party as well as Dr. Facilier. We were treated to the Headless Horseman, who usually begins the Boo to You parade. There was no parade, but this was the highlight of the evening, as well as the chance to see the characters at the end. We came back the next day for the Not So Scary Halloween party itself, which was sold out, as you see. And there were signs directing people in, and then once into their wristband. As you know, you can get into the park at 4 o'clock, even though the party doesn't start till 7, and they're checking wristbands kind of aggressively after that point. The t-shirt this year is a little bit more edgy, I would say. They have Happy Harvest Roundup in the Diamond Horseshoe, which is a bit of a dance party, and the Big Candy Trail, which is usually over by Toontown. Obviously can't be there now, so they've got it in the winding queue of Splash Mountain. And in that queue they've got pumpkins and that are carved to look like the characters from the ride. So this is the porcupine who's playing the drums from the final scene of the ride. Gave out lots of candy and Not So Scary, although actually less than we had gotten at the free event the night before. This is Duffy in the Santa Claus meeting spot near the front of the park, dressed in his pumpkin outfit. There's another view of the Headless Horseman. Now there's quite a few more people on the street, as you can see, because Not So Scary really drives the attendance. A new float to the Boo to You parade. This is the new float at the beginning. Much of the parade is the same otherwise. You've got the main characters and the Winnie the Pooh folks dressed up as though they are wearing a costume. The Peter Pan float, no real differences there, although the Jack Sparrow float now has the Angelina character on the float as well. The perennial favorite is the Haunted Mansion characters, not just the caretaker up front, but the Haunted Mansion dress guys who will scrape their shovels in an exciting fashion on the ground. The ballroom dancers and the hitchhiking ghosts, which I think is fabulous that they perform the dance called the Robot, because they are meant to be robots. Big Al outside of the Big Al attraction was always kind of neat to see. Some villains and Dr. Facilier joining the rest of the villains float, and we end with Goofy and the Trick or Treat Candy song. The Hallow Wishes is always a fun fun fireworks show to see because it features perimeter fireworks. This is the villain show, now called Mix and Mingle, and they had some professional level dancing and some good effects at this one, including some glow effects and nighttime lighting. So the See You Real Soon pumpkins bid us adieu, but we'll take a look back at the train station, which shows the green lighting inside, kind of nice and spooky. We're back the very next day, which is Saturday, October 1st, the 40th anniversary of Walt Disney World, the 40th anniversary of the Magic Kingdom. And they have balloons set up outside to welcome you into the monorail. There was a big crowd on hand for the opening ceremony and rope drop. there's the first family of the day, and there's a banner for the 40th magical years, and there's a brief fireworks rather than confetti, and then they let people in towards the castle stage show, which was taking place, as you see on the main castle stage here, with yet another banner set up behind it. Crowds were thick. This is looking back towards Main Street from the Tomorrowland side. What you're going to see momentarily coming up that street is the cavalcade of characters. And as the characters poured in, they were playing music. You can see a sign here saying 15 years. They were playing music from some of the previous parades throughout the history of the Magic Kingdom, and they showed some of the characters we don't normally see. These are the Walt Disney World Ambassadors of the Year and the president of the theme parks in the Walt Disney in the United States, Meg Crofton, and then this is the Vice President of Magic Kingdom, Phil Holmes. We had we had the band as well as the Dapper Dan singing a song, followed by a little bit of fireworks and a confetti shot, and that was it for the morning. The lines began immediately thereafter. There was a lot of people looking to find special merchandise. This is actually the line for the cupcakes that were on sale on Main Street. And if there's one complaint, it could be that they should have really had more merchandise available. Didn't all have to be special merchandise, but something that said October 1st in less limited quantities would have been nice. The Grand Marshal were a collection of a family, including one person who had been there on opening day in 1971. Here's a little feature I had not noticed before. The Grand Marshal car has little Mickey treads on the car, on the tires. It was a crowded day, inched towards 60,000 people total attendance. A little bit of construction going on here outside of the People Mover, though it was open. What you're looking at here is the winding line for the People Mover, and that's how you know the park is busy. We stuck around for the Main Street Electrical Parade, giving you a couple of views I don't normally see from the train station, including a nice shot of the winding curve as they come out. Here's another sense of how crowded the park was up on top of the train station and down below for the special edition of Wishes. Now, Wishes doesn't normally feature perimeter fireworks, but it did on this evening, so the song was the same, but they had extra fireworks at a few key moments as part of the 40th celebration. On Sunday, we checked out the Food and Wine Festival at Epcot, which is in its first weekend, and you can see a kind of a planes, trains, and I guess boats theme for the Food and Wine Festival. And you've got the new banner set up here, and what's right below it is the info board, which is new. So it's digital, and there's a couple of things to point out. First, the timing on the left side shows you when you can see an attraction or how busy it is, and you can see it's transitioning between slides there. And then on the right side, you've got a bit of a Twitter feed. So if you're using a certain hashtag, which in this case was Epcot FW11, there you see it, then I believe it's automated. It will show up on the tip board directly. The only downside to this very interactive tip board is that you can't see it from a distance. You have to get up close to really see how many minutes the wait is for Test Track. The Cranberry Bog, part of the cranberry harvesting and craisin creating process, because Ocean Spray Craisins is the new sponsor of the Food and Wine Festival. Let's take a trip around World Showcase if we can. We're going to start at the Caribbean booth, which is not too far from Mexico. You can see the pyramid in the background, Mexico's booth, which has stayed up for some time anyway. Scandinavia outside of Norway. This is the China booth. Then over to South Korea near the exit or the end of the China area. On to South Africa. This booth is simply called Cheese. The Germany booth is tucked away in the back of what is frequently a wine or beer walkabout, and they had something like that set up next to the Germany booth. The Italy booth next to Italy, the Polish booth on the other side, Hops and Barley Market over by America. As we leave America and enter the Japan pavilion, we've got Singapore on the left and the Japan stand on the right, and then New Zealand comes right before Morocco itself. In Morocco, then we come to Portugal, and behind that Belgium. Now on the left side of Belgium, this is a big grassy area, and you can see here that they've set up some tables. This is where we've seen in the past such things as the New Orleans exhibit, or the larger Spain exhibit was here, and they had previously spent more money to set up a larger kind of booth and experience in this grassy area. So the Belgium one is a kind of more standard booth in that zone. The France booth, where you can get escargot for only about $5, not a price you're normally going to find. The Canada booth with that famous cheese soup available for sale. And across the way, the Greek booth. This is a very crowded section of the park. There's a shop right near that. And then this stand is usually there, although it's been renamed to Desserts and Champagne, as well as given these little coverings here around the outside as theming for food and wine. Right next to that is a stand for Aulani, and then comes the Hawaii booth right after that. And then after the Hawaii booth, we'll come to the Australia booth, which is sporting lines by this time of the day, and then Brazil and Argentina, which brings us back to the end of the world, so to speak, World Showcase anyway. Over at the Festival Center, the former Wonders of Life Pavilion, you'll find the merchandise for sale, including this year's Vinylmation for food and wine. You'll find presentations in the nicely decorated presentation zones, Seasons of the Vine showing once again in that Making of Me theater, and Start the Party with HGTV showing in that same theater. I guess they kind of rotate between them. A nice shot of the Wonders of Life Pavilion, or now called the Festival Center. Just to give you a size of the portion, a sense of the portion sizes, this is that chocolate lava cake from Ireland and the Fisherman's Pie, also from Ireland. And you see they both fit comfortably on your hand. There are some t-shirts available for sale this year, branded for the 2011 year. And of course there's a Duffy, something they're rolling out, a Duffy costume, as they're rolling out almost as often as they're rolling out Vinylmations. This is new. They had it on the tipboard as well, QR codes, which opens up a kind of app within your phone that shows you where around World Showcase the booths are and a little bit more information about the menus. Just a brief update while we're here in the World Showcase. This is the Japan Pavilion, where you can see they've got the area under wraps, and the Yakitori house has the walls completely removed for the house itself. Looks like they're doing some fairly heavy renovations up there. And then the lower merchandise location also has had its walls stripped off, and they're down to bare walls below. That does it for this week. We'll catch you next time.